So hello, everyone. I know we've had a few minutes to chit chat a little bit, but welcome. I want to thank you for joining us for Autumn's 2025 Election Candidates Forum. It's a great opportunity for you to get to know the lighter side of the candidates. And we're going to have a little bit of fun today, trying to get to know some of the candidates and the things that they love. We have 12 candidates that are vying for positions on the board. Their bios and position statements can be found on autumn.net, and there was an email that was sent out, but if you go to the website, you'll also find that information. Voting opens on October 28th and runs to November 19th until 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Again, voting opens at October 28th and runs to November 19th and ends at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time on that day. Colleen just posted in the chat where you can find the position statements and bios of each of the candidates. There are two positions open for this election, and there are two general director positions. The candidate forum is an opportunity to get to know more about the candidates running for the board. Their positions and platforms are all available, as I said before, and this is a chance for you to see the softer side of the candidates. So we're going to have a little fun. I'm going to ask everyone to keep their answers to roughly 1.5 minutes per question. So this is your chance to do your elevator pitch that you've been practicing. If I have to gently poke you to wrap it up, I will, or one of the capable staff will assist me in doing so. We're going to take everyone in alpha order for their first round of questions. So here we go. These questions were assigned randomly and were taken largely from the questionnaire, which was going in the origins of the parlor game Polarized by Marcel Proust. We'll start with Robert Alderson. Since we want to make sure that we have that as a reminder, you have 1.5 minutes to answer your question. So, Robert, what is your idea of perfect happiness? We cannot hear you, Robert. Are you muted?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, that's strange. I'm speaking through my headphones, but I'm hearing you through my computer. So,
Okay.
all right. So a quick background. I'm originally from the US.
Mhm.
I grew up in the Southeast. I worked as a patent attorney in New York, and for the past 12 years, I've lived in Europe. I live in Turin, Italy. And perfect happiness is when I'm on my bike and I've finally gotten to the top of the hill overlooking beautiful Turin, Italy. It's a little bit painful. The process is a little bit painful, but the happiness is even greater when you go through that struggle.
All right. I love to hear that. And so, with that said, what job would you be terrible at?
What job would I be terrible at? I would be terrible at anything that requires sitting still and doing repetitive tasks. Like I would be terrible on an assembly line of any sort, I think.
I think most of us who are innovators would probably be right there with you, Robert. So, good answer. And then, Eileen, you're my next person up. What is your greatest extravagance?
Good food. I lived in Tucson, Arizona for 6 years, and it's got some of the world's best Mexican food. So I gorged myself on that. I've recently moved back to New Orleans. So I am enjoying all of the gastronomic excellence that this city has to offer. And it's a great way not only to eat, but to learn more about the history of the area. I can go to restaurants that have been here for 300 years, and I can go to restaurants that have history all over the walls and learn more about where I live and why I live here.
I love that because guess what? Your greatest extravagance is also my idea of the perfect happiness. Those two questions work well together. What section of the library or bookstore do you gravitate towards and why?
Civil War history. I was an American Civil War history buff. I was a history major for a hot second until I realized that I didn't want to teach. But I grew up near Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and that has always fascinated me, why a nation would tear itself apart and how we've healed from it as much as we have.
That's very interesting. And in case you didn't realize, I messed up my alphabet. So I'm gonna go back up to Peter Baines, right? What is your greatest fear, Peter?
It's a good question. First, I want to say it's a good thing we're close to Halloween because I feel a little bit like a zombie right now because it's 2 a.m. my time. And yesterday I had a really big conference in Sydney that I was speaking at. My greatest fear, to be completely honest, is being apart from my wife. No, she's my soulmate. My greatest happiness is being with her. So my greatest fear would be not being with her.
Oh, that is so sweet. Wow, that's so sweet, Peter. What advice would you give to your teenage self?
Mm. I would tell the teenage Peter, just be the best version of yourself.
Mhm.
Each day, try and get a bit better than you were the day before. And don't worry if you're different from other people, you just follow your own path.
I love that. Thank you so much. My next person is Jennifer Frazier. Which living person do you admire the most?
Oh, don't we all admire and esteem to be our parents in some way, shape, or form? So my father is my only living parent. And my mother, by the way, was an amazing woman, but since she said living, I'll just tell you a little bit about my dad. He has supported and been there for a family of 5 for the longest time. And, now that my mother has passed, he just shows how dedicated he is to his family and how dedicated his family is to him. And all the things that he's accomplished in life, both in a career as well as a person. Yeah.
I love it. Be sure to share this clip with your dad so you can take
Okay.
it to him. My other question for you, Jennifer, is what show are you currently most recently binge watched?
Oh, Matlock. And the other one is probably Lincoln Lawyer, and they're very similar in their principles, right? So, and I laughed because you had asked somebody else about what area of the bookstore do you go to. It's like these kind of lawyer slash mysteries that really just grab my attention for whatever reason. And it's this little sly, how am I going to unravel, the mystery of my client or the mystery of, why is the current Matlock, the newer version, there's this background where she's trying to get in and understand who is responsible for getting a pharmaceutical business not being charged for releasing opiates in a way that was not ethical, I guess. And, just why is that? Why does she feel there's something going on? Just chasing that mystery all the time is really kind of fun.
Yeah. Jennifer, we definitely have to chat offline at some time in the future because you nail it on the head. Two of my favorite shows. Anything
Okay.
around that genre is my favorite. So I'm going to go to Eric. I can see him now, Eric Ginsberg. Eric, this may be a trick question, and I promise you, I was not the one to write this question. And I also want to promise you, I think you're a great guy. I think all is well with your mind. But somehow someone wants to know, what is your current state of mind?
I'm glad to be in this meeting. I'm actually traveling And 15 minutes ago, I was still on a train. So I'm just sort of settling, getting a train, then a cab, and then I sat down and started the Zoom. So I'm relaxing. I'm transitioning to relaxing.
Okay, so see, that question was perfect for you, even though I was a little worried about asking you that question. What's a new habit you're trying to incorporate into your life?
A new habit. I'll say this may be an old habit that I'm always trying to work on is valuing the silence, realizing in all aspects of life, learning when silence is important. And I think it's an old habit, but always renewing it, I guess.
Okay, very interesting. And so now my next person is Marie Kobeshan. Which fictional family would you want to be a part of?
Oh, very interesting question. I think any found family out of an Ursula K. Le Guin novel. I don't know if you're familiar with her writing, but she, in the 60s, did a lot of novels around science fiction, space exploration, and it was always a group of people thrown together creating a community in very harsh circumstances, but everyone coming to the table and pulling together. And I just think that would be a lot of fun.
That's good. What's your most treasured possession?
Oh, I have an old cross from my grandmother that was from her mother, that she brought over from the old country. And my grandmother didn't know her mother for long. Her mother died, so it was treasured for her, and she passed it on to me. And someday I'm going to pass it on to my oldest daughter.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's a good family tradition to pass along. Thank you for that response. And Daniel, I'm now with you. Do you have any hidden talents or hobbies? And if so, we may want you to show us. But first, answer the question. And what is it?
Hidden, well, it's funny because I think I actually mentioned both of them in my application, which maybe means they're not so hidden. But one is I play guitar, and I have done so for many years, occasionally on stage, and the other is I teach martial arts in my spare time.
Wow, both of them could be done at the 50th anniversary. Let's talk about that. Okay. Very good. We have talented people in our association. What's your favorite thing to do when you're not working? And maybe not those two things, something different.
Something different.
Yeah.
Well, I am a dad, so I have two little-
Dennis, just telling you, the car is yours.
The car is mine. I have two daughters, ages 9 and 11, and I recently taught them both how to ride a bike. And then I took them. I live in Silicon Valley, and I took them on the local Caltrain into San Francisco as a day trip to celebrate their ability to ride the bike to the Caltrain and get on it and kind of explore the city. So it was a lot of fun teaching them to ride the bike and seeing their mastery of that over time.
Awesome. Congratulations to you and your daughters. Lloyd, are you ready for us?
Hello?
Yes, this question is for you. We can hear you. What historical figure do you most identify with?
Excuse me, are you talking to me? This is Lloyd.
Yes, Lloyd, can you hear me?
Could you do me a favor and make me the next person instead? Because I just arrived home and I'm getting you on my laptop where I'll be able to do better.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you
Not
very
a
much.
problem. Okay, I'll mute you. Okay, good. So the next person up would be Michael Mosher. Michael, what's the best concert you've been to and why?
Yeah, good question. Probably Lollapalooza in Chicago. But it was I just say it's really neat seeing the wide variety of bands. Obviously being around all the people, it does get a little bit crazy there. But also just the city. I mean, that's if I didn't have kids, I would probably be trying to find a way to live in the Chicago area. I don't know how in the world I could do it. I don't know, maybe someone can figure that out. But actually living downtown in Chicago with all the great people there. But definitely just the community, engaging with all the people, seeing the wide variety of bands.
Okay, I'm gonna throw this in. So you said sometimes it get crazy. How crazy did you get?
Oh no no comment. But not too bad.
That was a trick question.
Yeah,
So
right.
my second question for you, Michael, is what is your greatest regret?
Well, yes, aside from applying when you have all these, or for the board when you have all these great candidates, it's gotta be up there. But I don't have too many regrets, thankfully. I feel like this is one of the things I'm very, very blessed, very thankful to not look back and not regret too many things. Now, that said, I didn't find out about tech transfer until I was very late into a career. And yeah, I think that honestly would be the biggest thing, that discovering this path, 10 years earlier would have been so much easier in my life, to not having to make the 3 or 4 career changes to get here. So I think that would be it.
But better late than never, right?
That's
So you
right.
come into the
Yeah.
profession a little bit more seasoned. So no,
Yeah,
I
it worked
don't
out.
think you should regret, but good. I'm going to go back to Lloyd. Lloyd, are you ready for us? Because I know you have something phenomenal to tell us. We cannot hear you. Yeah, you
How about
should
now?
be. Yes, I can hear you now. So my first question to you is, what historical figure do you most identify with?
Sorry, say it again.
What historical figure do you most identify with?
Well, I can say that in some ways it's Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison, because I'm an impossible human being when it comes to seeing things. I drive everyone crazy because I'm always trying to think of a new way to do things and to get another patent. Yeah, I'm an out of the box thinker, and that's why I'm running for this candidacy, because I have some ideas that are definitely not conventional for autumn that I think would be good, and I just want to put them out on the table, even though there are folks here in the organization who've been giving service to the organization longer than I have. I've only been for about 3 years, but
Okay.
yeah, out of the box, encouraging.
Well, we appreciate that, Lloyd. What's one crazy goal you love to achieve in your lifetime? One crazy goal you'd love to achieve in your lifetime.
So the goal that my bucket list, number 1, number 2, and number 3 on my bucket list is to get a device that I have been sticking with and working on for 4 decades, and a type of medical monitor. I want to see it used in a hospital. I don't care if I make any money on it. Device for detecting post-operative blood loss way, way earlier than conventional means.
Okay. Thank you so much. Rodney Ridley, you're next. What's your biggest work pet peeve?
Oh, without a doubt, being micromanaged. I cannot take somebody micromanaging me. And I won't say that's happening now because my boss might see this, but being micromanaged without a doubt.
Okay. And if you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
I think the one thing that I've always wanted to be able to do that I really have no skill in is I would probably play an instrument.
Which one?
Probably the drums, because they make a lot of noise and it would drive my family up the wall.
Thank you, Rodney. Jonathan Tyler, you're up next. If you could compete in the Olympics in any sport, what would it be and why?
Soccer. I really enjoy playing soccer. I do it Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I still do it. I teach my kids when they let me, and it's a lot of fun. It's very communal. You can learn from every game.
What's your favorite soccer team?
I mean, watching Real Salt Lake is a lot of fun. My brother has tickets and we go time to time. He also played soccer growing up, and so it's fun to be better than him at the game that he loves too.
Thank you so much. So soccer is a sport I love too. What's a piece of professional advice you've ever received?
Oh, yeah. Work hard. That was probably I was, pretty young, 16, new job, working construction. Work hard, but work smart was the advice that was given to me. And there's little ways that you can make things easier. Work hard, but work smart. And doing those two things together, you can go real far.
I love it. And my last, but certainly not least, is Neil. I know you were waiting. I saw the smile on your face. What's the trait you most deplore in yourself?
Good question, Almisha. For me, it would be procrastination. It is always something that is tempting just to kick the can down the road for a little bit longer, almost like taking an extension on, responding to some pattern action. But, there's a cost to that. And I consistently try to avoid, procrastinating on items.
Hey, we know that procrastination is definitely a thief of time. But here's the thing, if you could snap your fingers and become an expert in something, what would that be and why?
Oh, I would love to be an expert in wrestling. And in fact, I was thinking, I wish I had the question about what sport I'd join in the Olympics.
You can answer that too.
I would go for wrestling. I've never done it before. My son did it, and that's how I got into it. But I like how it is a very personal activity. It's you and another person, in the ring. The onus of responsibility is on you, and really the culture of sacrifice and toughness that I've seen these wrestlers have, I find really appealing. So if I could snap my fingers, that would be the one.
Okay. Now you surprised me because I thought you were gonna say the grappling and the takedown, but good answer. Good answer. I love all these answers. And one of the questions that I definitely want to ask each of you to answer, and you have 1 minute. So this is your pitch, 1 minute pitch to answer this question. How do you shine in the tech transfer profession, and what about it gives you joy? So we're gonna go back up in alphabetical order. And again, the question is, how do you shine in the tech transfer profession, and what about it gives you joy? So Robert, we start with you first, and then Peter.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not directly in the tech transfer profession. I'm both a U.S. and European patent attorney, and it actually gives me joy to be able to speak about both of these systems when people are confused on one side of the ocean or the other, and to develop sort of an understanding of where the confusion happens, and it gives me joy to clarify confusion. What was there another part to the question?
Yeah, how do you shine in the profession?
I think that is actually part of the same. My answer would be roughly the same. And I also think that with respect to the advocacy positions that Autumn has, I think as an attorney, I also appreciate all of those positions and agree 100% with each of the advocacy positions that Autumn is taking, and I would like to work to make sure that those are successful.
Peter, you're up, and then Eileen, you're next.
Thanks, Almisha. My background is I'm also new to the tech transfer profession. So after I graduated, I've spent my whole career in business, mainly in technology, R&D businesses, some startups, some large companies. And I wanted to get into the tech transfer field, partly to honor my grandfather, who was a businessman, but also all his career he worked in the university in the city where he lived. And also at this stage of my career, I want to make as much impact as I can. So where I shine is bringing that business experience into tech transfer. I love making deals, either for licensing or for getting a startup underway. And you know, one likes to be humble, but I'm quite proud of what I've done so far in the tech transfer field in terms of getting businesses away or setting up licenses.
Thank you. Eileen and then Jennifer. We cannot hear you, Eileen.
Better?
Yes, thank you.
I have to wear a headset. They're working on the building next to mine, so it's crazy loud. I apologize. A former coworker described tech transfer and what we do as being able to see the future. And that really appeals to me. If you think of any problem that anyone is having in the world right now, there is somebody in our circle who is working on a solution for that problem. And I love being part of that. I love seeing the next gen cancer drugs. I love seeing the next gen mine safety innovations, everything that everybody's working on. And it's my part in that is connecting those innovators to people that can help them get it out into the real world. So that's really where my strength lies, is in connecting people, forming networks, and making an impact outside of academia. And I can't remember the second part.
The second part is, what about it gives you joy? And I think you responded to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Seeing the light bulbs when people get it. I love that.
Yes. Thank you. Jennifer and then Eric.
Okay, so how do I shine in tech transfer? I think really honestly, it's my leadership skills and being able to bring my team to a place where they understand what the objectives are of the institution and giving them the freedom to define that for themselves, how they achieve the goals of the institution. One of the big things for the University of Toronto recently has been to really help the world understand the research power that the University of Toronto is and what an excellent institution it is. In fact, it's like one of the top 5 in the world in terms of research output. We've been working for the last 5 years on how to translate that into getting the technologies to our communities, because historically we haven't been very good at that. So the plethora of entrepreneurship programs that have come out of the University of Toronto now, there to help our young entrepreneurs. I was a young entrepreneur myself, so I feel like I've got those skills and the things that can help guide them in their journey towards commercialization of their technologies that maybe are coming out of the labs that they've worked in as students. What is my joy? It's actually teaching, frankly. And I've been working with a lot of the faculty members here at the University of Toronto to integrate intellectual property knowledge into their curriculum, many of their different courses and classes. So something that's not been top of mind in a Canadian academic institution. To be honest, we have a long way to go to get to where all of you are in that I guess area of education. So, and really just helping to understand how to translate technologies and get them to the market. What is the market? How to define your market? All of those kinds of things. So I almost feel like that's how I'm gonna eventually get people to hire into my office, because my team is very mature and very experienced, and I really want to have an impact on the next generation that comes in.
Thank you so much. Eric, you're not up next, and then Daniel, you're after Eric.
Thanks, Amisha. So how do I shine in tech transfer? Love diving into really hard, important questions and finding a new creative direction to take a project, whether it could be around licensing, IP, policy, and increasingly mentoring and helping my team be their best in all those aspects. How does it give you joy? That wraps into also the first answer, but working with faculty to launch their work into the world. And I really am a science nerd. So part of it, being able to talk to a biologist, a physicist, a material scientist in the course of a morning about completely different things in depth has kept me in this for a long time. And working with a great team inside the office. I've been in this a while and I've had some great colleagues and I love working as a team.
Thank you so much, Daniel, and then Marie.
My background is as a founder of a tech company as well as a venture capitalist. I think I'm actually the only venture capitalist applying for one of the board roles right now. I love starting companies, and I've done that with when I was younger in an earlier chapter of my life. I started a global travel company called Couchsurfing.com. And I've also been involved launching venture funds. So I love starting companies as a founder, and I love being a VC and investor. I think where I can shine is with that, VC and founder perspective, also with my VC network, because I've been doing it for about a decade in Silicon Valley. What gives me joy is seeing the companies that I'm working with. By the way, I also advise a lot of startups. That's one of the most fun things for me to help founders avoid mistakes that I made when I was a young founder. And so what gives me joy is seeing the companies that I'm involved with get to scale. And in a bunch of cases, I've been fortunate that they've become pretty well-known companies like Mrs. Meyer's Household Products, or Spot Hero, the parking website, or Outdoorsy for RV rentals. These have to some extent been household names in some communities across the US. So that's a lot of fun for me.
Thank you so much. Mary, then Lloyd. Okay.
Well, one of the themes I think you've heard from everyone from before is the importance of teams in tech transfer. And I do feel I shine in creating strong teams within a tech transfer office. It's probably everyone in the profession knows that should be easy, but it isn't always, as we all have different roles in the office, from finance being affected by what a licensing associate does in terms of the patent budget, and are we getting the information that compliance needs to move forward? And it sometimes can be a tricky balance to get everyone rowing in the same direction. But I do feel that I put a lot of time into every organization that I work with to make sure that we are all working as a team towards that common goal. And then for joy, honestly, whenever anyone leaves my office and stays in the tech transfer profession and moves up in another organization, that just gives me a lot of pride and a lot of joy. I mean, it feels a little bit like I've had a small but significant part of helping this person along in their tech transfer journey.
Thank you so much. Lloyd, you're up next, and then Michael, you're next.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my relationship with tech transfer has to do with my background, which is kind of unique. I'm an engineer who became a physician, pediatric cardiologist. I've invented and have patents on 20 medical devices. I know a lot about intellectual property. then when I retired from clinical medicine at the age of 65, I got an MBA because I wanted to learn how to run my startup company. I naturally very interested in tech transfer, and I have advised tech transfer offices about how important it is to properly determine the clinical utility and the commercial potential before they waste their money getting patents. Because as many of you know, the metric that's often used for TTOs is number of patents, and it's a terrible, terrible metric. So what I did was I queried the stat database because I wanted to learn what makes a successful tech transfer office. And I learned a couple of very important things. So I'm driven by data, not by, emotions in this thing. And it turns out there's only about 20 successful tech transfer offices if you massage that data and you look at parameters such as royalty income, or more importantly, number of licenses that are produced per FTE. And I want to share this information with Autumn because I feel that Autumn can be so much more, because right now I see it as a very insular group where people who are TTO officers share their stories, get together. I think Autumn should play a greater role in actually facilitating tech transfer. And when I go to an annual meeting, I want to see sessions where people are meeting with entrepreneurs who want people who can provide funding. I want people who provide services such as myself, people who are prototype developers, people who are from the industry, who are potential licensees. I want them all to be part of Autumn. Autumn should be called, in my opinion, should be called the Association for Technology Transfer and facilitate tech transfer. So the thing that brings me joy is seeing tech transfer take place. And when it takes place, it's a beautiful thing. And, a number of my inventions were made when I was at universities, and I've had very deep relationships with tech transfer offices. And I can't go into it now. They're quite, and I have a lot of, information to share, and hope that Autumn can grow in that direction. If people don't want to see it that way, then I'm definitely not your candidate.
Thank you, Lloyd. I appreciate that. Next up, Michael Mosier, and then Rodney, you're next.
Yeah, thanks, Almisha. So I would describe it as this. I'm a bit of a glutton for knowledge, for information. I've 4 degrees. I've been to 3 R1s. And it's just as a part of that, I feel like I've really had to and wanted to learn as much as possible. Going from institution to institution, just seeing how different things are done, going to the autumn sessions and seeing how every institution does things a little bit differently. That has been not just a necessity, but something I'm just generally interested in. My whole life is trying to gather knowledge, and the reason for doing that is because I do get happiness in then sharing it. Being able to provide that. So I mean, there have been plenty of meetings where, maybe not plenty, but some meetings where someone's come up to me later and said, "Well, you're awfully quiet," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm listening, I'm learning." But when it comes to then sharing that information to whether it's entrepreneurs or faculty members and researchers or the community at large, that's also where I shine is in trying to build those bridges. Trying to understand everybody's viewpoints, where they're coming from, and what's important to them. That's probably the first question out of my mouth when I meet with researchers is, what do you want to do? What's important to you? What are you excited about? And so, helping people achieve those goals, and that's what really brings, I think, probably a lot of us happiness in this industry.
Thank you. You're up next. Rodney, you're up next, and then Jonathan.
Okay, I think the question that you had asked was, how do I shine in tech transfer? And I think for me, for the last 10 years of being in tech transfer, I've had the pleasure and sort of the great fortune to work with many of you in Autumn, especially around the notion of small offices and what the smaller offices can do at small schools, and how we can as smaller offices, using a boxing analogy, punch above our weight and have impact. And within our office, I borrowed the old children's book, The Little Engine That Could. We call ourselves the Little Institute That Could. because of the impact that we now have based on us taking a fresh look at what tech transfer and innovation commercialization really is, and positioning us now within our region. So we're a small school in a small region. So relatively speaking, we have big impact. And we are now transforming the city around us as a catalyst. And using what I think is going to be the future of tech transfer as we start evolving, looking at how do we have economic impact and community impact and impact outside of just our university world, but in the world around us. And I think the other thing that we have done is we've pioneered, how do I do that being a small school? We have pioneered the use of students. So I'm sort of the guy that always has students at Autumn. I'm the one guy that's always bringing 2 or 3 of our students to Autumn. And I think that's the future of our profession too. If we don't start getting students into our profession, it's going to be hard to continue to grow and do that. And so if you ask me what gives me joy is doing the things that people told me I couldn't do and doing it successful and proving them wrong. And the second thing is, as a person who's bringing students, I always have that proud father moment when I watch when we started, we only had 10 students. I now have probably close to 100 students that work for me. So watching the students that come through our program really succeed and do well in their chosen field of study and getting into our profession. Many of them want to get into our profession. So that gives me great joy and hope for the future of our profession.
Thank you so much, Rodney. Jonathan, you're up next. And last but not least, Neil, you're after Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you. I in college was an inventor. I did a lot of rock climbing, and so kind of got into this whole field of tech transfer. My grandfather was a faculty member and explored technology commercialization on a sabbatical in London. He ultimately wasn't successful, but instilled a lot of the knowledge that he had around that space, inventing how to patent. I had a little notebook that I kept that got notarized because first to invent at that time. But I've worked ideas into existence. I've done that in a lot of different ways. I also worked in manufacturing where KPIs and systems were critical to know how you're doing and how to do better and to build strategies to do better. And I think that's critical and important. I feel like I shine in finding opportunities. I've worked with Andy at Autumn around an opportunity to build pipeline for new talent to come to Autumn in a formalized way, and then to come back and get leadership expertise in a formalized way to then, build toward really bolstering tech transfer and the folks that are coming to tech transfer. The hope is that, Michael, you don't have to wait so long to find out about tech transfer. We can do that a lot earlier. I'm really good at building systems, and like I said before, I feel like I work hard and work smart. With the background in information systems, there's a lot of data out there that can be leveraged and utilized. We're starting to see AI have a play in our different offices in different ways, being able to help with that. And then what brings me joy is ultimately my grandfather, he wasn't successful in his technology transfer opportunity. I feel like as I help Autumn and I help my university and others who interact with that network, in some small way, I'm helping us do better. That ultimately allows people like my grandfather to be more successful. And that's what it boils down to. That's what really drives me and is why I'm passionate about Autumn and the field of tech transfer.
Thank you so much. And then Neil, we're over to you.
Okay. I've been in this field of academic tech transfer for 22 years now. I think the area that I shine, that has been sort of drilled into me and that I've tried to, develop throughout my career, is a focus on customer service. For all of us at a tech transfer office, I believe that we really serve 2 sets of customers. The faculty who give us these inventions and these new innovations that we're trying to commercialize, and the entrepreneurs or the VCs or the companies on the opposite side who work with us because they want access to that technology. I really think this relentless focus on tech transfer is the core ingredient of any successful office, whether it's a one-man shop or a large mega office. That is essential for success. What brings me joy around that is having that empathy to make that connection with a faculty member, to really dive into their science, their students, understand the motivations for what brought this invention out there. And ultimately to make that connection with the buy side in our business, with the entrepreneur who can take this forward, with the VC who is willing to fund, this idea or this startup. Seeing that work, it's probably the most satisfying aspect of my work in this field.
Thank you so much. It would be remiss of me if I don't recognize the current board members that are on the call. I think I can see from my screen, I can see Ellen McKay out of Canada. I can see Becky Hernandez on the call. And Joy, our incoming chair, is on the call, and he popped on the screen. And then I think I see Sadna is also on the call. I want to thank our board members for showing up in support of this forum. Also want to thank Steve Sasalka, our CEO, who is all the way down in South Africa, but found some time to be on this call. And also thank the staff, especially Kerry and Colleen, for helping to organize this forum and making it a successful one. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions about the next steps in this process. But thank all of you so much for coming and sharing with us both the lighter side of yourself, and then the last question was a little bit more serious but still fun. So thank you so much, and thanks for everyone who attended. I want to remind you that voting opens on October 28th, so feel free to share the information with colleagues and other members of the association. It will be open on October 28th, and you will receive a ballot each person will receive a ballot in their email. So if they do not receive it after October 28th, please feel free to reach out to Colleen or Carrie so that to make sure that they can get that ballot. And you'll be assigned, it will be assigned to each person's autumn membership. So you cannot vote twice. Right? You only can vote in one session, meaning that you vote for the candidates that you are trying to vote for in that particular ballot. So you will only get one opportunity in that emails, get that session. If there are no further questions, staff, do you have any housekeeping matters that you want to speak on before we leave? Steve, anything from your end?
No, I just want to thank all the candidates for applying. I'm here in South Africa, where we have convened a international leadership summit with tech transfer organizations around the globe. And thanks to the hard work of this board and previous boards, really have elevated Autumn's profile, and looking forward to some additions to this fantastic board.
All right, and I'm looking forward to working with each of you, even though I'm rolling off the board, but we have capable board members who will welcome you on board, and you shall show you around the way we work. But it's everything about our association is very transparent, so you can see it on our website. Colleen did do a favor of putting the information in the chat again about the board. Again, once voting is over, we will get the information about the people who were successful on the board. The people who were successful will get a call from Joy Goswami. And of course, there are only 2 seats. So there's some of you that might get a call from Andy Moss, who is our current chair. Thank you again for putting your name up there. I really appreciate you stepping up to help serve in this amazing association. There's great work ahead, and we look forward to each of you contributing in some way. If not the board, there are different opportunities for you to volunteer with the association. Thank you so much, and have yourself a great time. And I look forward to seeing each of you. Bring 5 friends to the annual meeting in Washington, D.C. in next March. 5 friends per person or staff members. Adios.